Joel Shaw says go. We're going to go.
Alrighty.
Athletor Podcast. Jaydin Eierman is joining us today. Thank you very much, Jaydin. I appreciate you taking time for us.
Oh, no problem.
Hey, so, Joel and I were actually talking yesterday. You might be our first current Hawkeye. And now Joel said you were our first Hawkeye to come on the show, but technically we had Dresser on not too long ago.
Yeah,
so,
but he's more Iowa State now.
Yeah, so I don't know if that really counts. But again, thank you so much for coming on. But you didn't start your college journey as a Hawkeye. Can you talk to me a little bit about like what the expectation is and why it's different in that black and gold?
Yeah, like I started at Mizzou, and I will always have the most respect for them and what they did for me in my early college years. And then I started looking at my international career when I was, looking to graduate. And I was looking what I needed to be the, the next best thing of my part of wrestling. And I knew I needed that go of that gas tank, that, will to work hard. And Iowa was the perfect fit for me. I knew in my heart that's where I needed to be. And, I got there, came up short in the season where I took second. But that training style there is you're never going to have an off day. Like, you're never going to have not an off day, but never have an easy go because the weight's so stacked. They're 4 or 5 deep. And that's I think what brings people to Iowa is because they've been the best for years and they have that history and they just keep bringing kids in and in. And that's what I think separates, Iowa from everybody, is how deep everybody is, and the practices where, you're going hard, you're going to break your opponent, and you're going to keep on scoring.
How often does that term come up in the room? Because I know in our room, I guess it's in most rooms, as we're ramping up towards competition, right? So let's say on Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday are tough goes. Wednesday, Thursdays are tough goes. And there's a lot. There's a lot that we'll say, go break them, put them into the wall, go break them, put them. Yeah, definitely Matt return them to his head.
Yeah.
How often is that talked about, or is it just innate in you guys?
No, for sure it is talked about. Beginning of the week is going to be really hard. Say we have a match on Friday, and we'll go really hard on Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is kind of off day. Do whatever you need to get your body feeling good again. Thursday is going to be a good spike, and Friday we're going out there and dominating. But when we're in that practice room, it's you put your will, put your force onto that guy, and you want to break him mentally, but it's doing it in a good way, not doing it as I'm gonna hurt you. It's breaking you mentally and doing the right moves to doing it.
That's tough though. Jaydin,
it is,
bro. Because we got kids on the side. We got freshmen on the sideline with broken collarbones right now. Going,
yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Just elbows? No.
Yeah. No, it's not about going out there and hurting him or putting him in. It's more about scoring and breaking him mentally. And that's what, Iowa's been, so good at for so many years, is they go out there and just put up points, and they put that pressure on you where you're, might be close in the first, second period, but that third period is just that lead's going to keep growing and growing and growing because you're going to go out there and just keep going after them.
No one, as far as I'm concerned, is immune to breaking in practice. No one. Can you give an instance of a time where you just threw your hands up in the air and I can't do this right now?
Ah, man, probably wrestling Sorensen. Sorensen would just, put it on me, and I'm like, I can't do this. I don't like it. But he was so tough. DeSanto, going with DeSanto a lot. He has a motor for days. And so, being surrounded by all those people, it really elevated my wrestling, because I my gas tank was getting better and better and better, which means like I'm able to wrestle more and put more of my style into it and put up points on the board.
Joel, do you want to jump in? Because I could go all day. All right. So you mentioned DeSanto, and you guys are putting together a really nice little stable of senior level athletes, guys that were a part of that national championship team. It's not easy to transition to a very rigid kind of practice schedule, go to class, that type of thing. It's not easy to transition to a senior level where a lot of the onus is put on you. How much do the coaches try to keep the senior level guys in line? How much do you have to do it on your own? And how much is it like you look at guys like DeSanto, Spencer, you, and you guys kind of keep yourselves in line? How much of it is one or the other?
Their coaches are involved a lot. It's not just us, so they're always going to be there with us, helping us if we need help. But yeah, for me, I love it because wrestling's my life. Like, I wasn't a big believer in school, but I had to do it because I had to get my education. I had to do that so I could wrestle. So I had to do what was done. But now that I'm just wrestling full time, I'm doing what I love, and it's awesome. So it's more being focused on what you're going to do for your body and your health. It's because your body's your payroll now, kind of. You're a professional athlete. And that college season, was tough, making weight every single week. So now being in the senior level, making weight maybe 5-6 times a year for tournaments, and I like that personally. I get to let my body rest because I'm getting older. So I have to do things more the correct way, and, I have to eat healthy, make sure my body's recovering. So it is more on us to make sure we're doing the right things, but the coaches are there to help guide us if we need help.
Yeah, that makes sense. Here's what's funny to me. My son wants to be a world champion, but he don't know what that means yet. He thinks he knows, and that's adorable. But
yeah,
he doesn't know. So what does a day-to-day look like for a person that is truly running down world and Olympic gold medal? Like, so something tells me, and I don't know, but something tells me that right now, who's at the top? Zane, right? Zane won a world title. He's your weight. Something tells me that you, right out of college, your day-to-day might look a little different than Zane's. Right?
Yeah.
So tell me what your day-to-day looks like as you're hunting down a world and Olympic gold medal.
So now I just came back from injury. So, I was starting to ramp it up, get my body back in shape. Usually I'll have morning practice at 8 a.m. And then, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we usually work out in the morning, like wrestling. Then, Monday, Wednesday is kind of what, we do on our own. And then afternoon is, get what you need. So I'll work out at 8 a.m. I'll go eat breakfast afterwards. Might take like a little hour nap to, get my body back. And then I'll wake up, might play some games with the guys online or go, walk around outside or something. It's starting to get colder here in Iowa, so that's harder to do. But it's really just putting all my focus on wrestling and thinking about it every day. And I'll hang out with my girlfriend. We'll go get food or do whatever, go shopping or walk around. And then I get ready to go again at 3 o'clock. And usually I lift in the afternoons on, Tuesdays or Fridays. And just it's a lot of making sure your body's perfectly ready to go for the upcoming event. And then we're also there to help out if college guys need us. Like, we're there to mentor them. So I'm able to be around wrestling a lot, and that's helping me grow as a competitor.
Yeah, that makes.
I'm sorry. How do you one of the things you talked about is you have a lot less structure to kind of when you compete, obviously, instead of going on a weekly basis, that it kind of starts to turn into a monthly thing. How do you kind of keep the motivation day in and day out to continue to kind of push yourself when, a competition is so far out?
Yeah. That is a good thing because like you can, forget about it, and the next thing you know, the month's up and it's ready to compete. So you kind of have to keep yourself into that like frame of mind. And I think with college wrestling, going on right now, it's getting that, competitor in me because I go to the duels and I see that wrestling. And I'm like, oh, that kind of makes me feel like what it used to be like, and makes me want to stay ready, and because it's my time's coming up soon. That's how I keep myself in the moment.
Dude, I was there the last time you and I spoke in person. It was the day before your surgery. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But leading up to that day, I remember feeling really bad for you. And I say that and I truly mean it. Like, you looked like a person that had every will and intention to compete, but you just, you were like a Viking without a sword. You just couldn't, like, literally couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
How frustrating does that become? And how are you willing yourself through that stuff? Because something tells me that wasn't a planned injury. It was something that had been going on for a while. I know that nobody wants to stay in college for forever, but something tells me that you probably could have pulled the plug on that season a whole lot earlier, thought about a medical red shirt, and probably gotten it. What made you will yourself to that national tournament that you're in college?
It was, that season was interesting. I wasn't, living the life that I should have been. I was like not doing the right things for my body to, keep healthy, and, just kept getting injured, little nicks here and there. I remember one practice, I landed and my hand landed backwards and my pinky went all the way back to my hand. So I thought I broke my finger for a while and it just got dislocated, thankfully. But, I had a wrap on the whole season. I'm like, man, this just keeps bothering me. And then, my last match against Chad Red, that's when I tear my ACL. And, I was like, but I got to go through with it. I got to try to finish this for me. And, the reason I don't have really any regret with that is because I went out there at Nationals and I put my heart and soul into that tournament, and I came up short, but I know that I did everything in my power to wrestle. And, it happened. Injuries happens. I probably shouldn't have put myself in that match against Chad Red where I'm trying some funky stuff, and next thing I know, I'm blowing my knee out, but I should have just got my legs back. But that's on me to learn and, get ready for the future. And, maybe I can't be doing all that crazy stuff anymore at the age I'm at, and, got to start protecting my body.
How many times? How many times? How many times has Tom Brands said, get your legs back to you?
A lot. And he says he says it in a good way where it's like you get your legs back first, then your stuff works. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I need to start listening.
Well, what fun is that?
But I'm like, but he's there and my cradle's coming. But now it's like I'm realizing that good basic work, like good basic defense, helps my style of wrestling, and it it just adds to it and fuels it, and that's why I feel like my senior career is gonna keep getting better and better as it goes on.
Do you feel like going to Iowa helped to shift your focus to be more basic with your wrestling?
It did, because I had to like focus, because that Big Ten schedule is no joke. Like I went from the MAC conference, which I'm not knocking the MAC conference, but I went from the MAC conference to the Big Ten conference, and you're wrestling a ranked guy every single match pretty much. And, because that conference is so tough and I liked it, but it made me, really focus on get my legs back or, blocking them to where they're not getting in so deep and putting myself at risk for injury. And, then putting it on them and doing my style that makes me. So I feel like it just improves on to my style with the basic defense.
I'm going to halfway call you on bullshit. And here's what I mean by that. And I mean it lovingly. Because I know your dad and I know how he emphasizes creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a unique wrestling coach in my eyes. I've always held him at a really high esteem. How resistant were you as a human being to the rigidity of get your head in the way, get your hands in the way? How, were you at all resistant? I know we're goofing and when we're saying, yeah, but my cradle's coming. Yeah, that's fine. But you intellectually, I'm sure hey, if I get my head and hands in the way, the chances of him scoring go way down.
Yeah. But, for sure.
So how much of it was you resisting a little bit against what Tom and Terry know is right and what you know is right?
Yeah. I really wasn't resisting that much. It took a little bit to get me to, do those things because it's a habit. I've done this my whole life. It's become a force of habit for me to do. So it was really kind of breaking that habit, but not in a bad way, into improving, because now I know that I can get my hands down, I can get them into a front headlock, and then I can maybe go cradle. That's where I can work from, or get my way on top to an easy takedown, then put my, I was a good leg rider in college. So it would add up and help me, but I just needed to get on top. So it just took a little bit to break the habit that I was in.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you to break that habit? Was it drilling? Was it sparring? What kind of did that look
repetitions, like? Yeah, drilling, repetitions, putting myself in those positions, we'd go situations and say guys down by one with 30 seconds left, he's coming after you. And I got to, to put my head in the right place, my hands on him, don't be lazy and just, oh, now he's in on a shot with 10 seconds left and we're battling. It's, there's 30 seconds left. He's coming at me. This is what I'm going to do. So a lot of repetitions, a lot of that. And, when you just do it over time, it just, becomes part of your habit.
Man, I have a hard time getting kids to fall back on solid fundamental technique when they know, a kid that is down by, or that is up by one with 30 seconds left. Your opponent's coming at you. You got 30 seconds. You could, if he gets to a leg, there's a 50 shot of you coming off that takedown because it's only 30 seconds, right? But there's a 90% chance that he doesn't score if you keep your head in the way. So how many times, and then even though you're in the room, you're a competitor.
Yeah.
You can compete in there. How often did you have to mentally check yourself and go, dude, I got to get my head in the way. I know I can keep him off. I know I can keep him on a leg and have him not score for 30 seconds, but that's not the point. How many times did you really have to check yourself?
A lot, it's a lot. And, I'd put myself with the good guys, the high level. I wrestled DeSanto a lot. So, 30 seconds left, he's coming at you with everything you have. So you have to be ready. But it's also what was good was putting ourselves at the end of practice when we're exhausted, dead tired, and putting ourselves in that position to where when you're tired like this is how you're going to, you're practicing how you're going to do it. End of the match, you're going to be exhausted. So we're putting ourselves in those positions with 30 seconds left when we're exhausted, brink of falling over. But you're trying to have good habits. So when we're doing that, it makes it really familiar. and, you know, just doing that a lot. And, you know, sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes you're going to get taken down, and it's not to be discouraged. It's, oh, don't get upset. It's, you know, all right, well, let's do it again, you know. And I think that's what people happen at practice sometimes is they think about winning and losing too much rather than improving on getting better. Because when you think about winning and losing in the practice room, the practice is it's a wash, because you're not looking to improve, you're just looking to win. So you're going to do things that are just, you know, that. And I feel like also when I'm up by one with 30 seconds left, that doesn't mean I'm not looking to score either. Because if I just go on the defensive, I'm just looking to, you know, not to lose. And that's when people lose a lot rather than I'm looking to win.
Man, that's a funny thing. I'm dealing with that right now. I have a couple high-level guys that, okay, and now this is going to change person to person. But I know that you have a coach's mindset as well. So I'm going to ask you this. If you're up by one, there is a point where you maybe don't think about scoring. Now, that might be 10 seconds left. That might be 10 seconds left. That might be, but everyone has that point. Where, let's say you got a short stocky guy, not like you.
Yeah.
Where do you think that point should be where he just has to shut it down and brick it up and he goes on full defense, especially on international styles, right? You can't really do as much in full. But.
That's more of like a feeling where I would ask, like, you know, from a coaching standpoint, it would be, I'd ask the wrestler, like, hey, where do you feel comfortable? Like, what are you thinking in this scenario? What are you thinking in this, like, situation that's happening in your mind? And for me personally, when there's 30 seconds left and I'm up by one, like, I'm staying in good position, my hand's on his head. If he shoots, like, I can get to my single really nice, or I can snap him and get to my front headlock, you know, maybe waste 5 seconds, restart, and then I'm kind of like not running away backwards, but my hands are on him, but they're not like on him like this, where my thumbs are over his shoulder. My thumbs are down because I'm stopping him. If your thumbs are over, you're sliding over the top of him.
Yeah.
So that was just always going through my mind, like how I put myself in those situations. And, you know, because I gotta be ready for this, because that's how wrestling is. Like, I can't not put myself in that situation, and then it comes into the match where I'm up by one with 30 seconds left and I don't know what to do. And that's why it's good to, like, put yourself in these scenarios.
Okay, now I'm going to go on the other end of the spectrum. You're down by one. When do you start your sprint, right? Because JB's sprint starts a lot later than a lot of people. And maybe Kyle Snyder's sprint starts earlier than most people's. At what point do you go, all right, I'm down by one, I got to score? Let's say 1 point step out doesn't get it. You need a take. You need multiple scores. What is it, a minute in? Is it 45 in?
Depends on, you know, how long left. If there's a minute left and I'm down, I'm going for a minute hard. Like, I'm watching wrestling and I hate it, but, like, I'm watching kids wrestle and they're down, losing by one, and they're just, you know, standing in front of the guy. I'm like, oh, that's driving me nuts. Like, from my standpoint, like, I would be going until, you know, he's gonna eventually, you know, break maybe, but you never know. And that's what I just love about practice, because, you know, you're waiting for someone to break, and say you break, and then you're like, you know, there's been times where I break and Terry's like, maybe 5 more seconds he would have broke. And that kind of puts into my head, like, you know, you're right, maybe 5 more seconds he would have broke. So that helped me, you know, put that mindset.
Yeah, but how often do you have that cognitive thought?
No, not very often.
No, it doesn't. Like, it never actually like sneaks into your brain when it matters. Like,
no,
it's true. Like 100% it's true. Like, there's a good chance at 5 more seconds that dude would break, but it just never seems to find its way into your brain when it matters.
When it matters, but that's when the practicing that comes in. You know, putting the repetitions of that into the work, and that's when it, you know, it shows. if Austin DeSanto's down by 1 with a minute left, he's going a minute hard to get that. And, it's going to break that guy. So it's kind of like, you know what? I need to just put my head down and get that takedown. And that's so my burst when it's down by 1 is pretty much the whole go.
That's unbelievable. Because people listen to this. Maybe because let's be honest, like no one's listening to this that never wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of our high school wrestling moms do listen to this podcast quite a bit. But shout out to Mrs. Condon. But for the most part, I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast have wrestled in the past. And I think a lot of them maybe that are my age are so far removed from the sport that they go, well, it's just a minute. Bullshit.
Well, that minute's a long time. It's a lifetime. I know. I remember being in practice and they're like minute left and we're going and we break out of bounds. He goes, all right, you got 30 more seconds. I'm like, that's the longest 30 seconds of my life. But all right, I got it.
Okay, cool. I guess I could go for double the amount of time I just did.
But it was awesome because, growing up, Mike would do this with us. And he would say there's a minute left, but really he'd run the time for like 3 minutes. And, that's something that really helped us because we're like, all right, it's a minute, but my condition is getting better. That's kind of like when we would do push-ups, he would be like, we're like, just go, and he counts for us. And we're like, what are we at? And he's like, you're at 50, but really we're at 100. And then the next thing I'm like, oh, what am I at? He's like, you're at 100, but you're really at 200. And it's not really thinking about it. You're just putting that, work in. And then at the end of the result, you're like, hey, you did this amount actually. And it's like, wow, I didn't even realize it. So kind of when we're in that mindset of I'm going to go, it's maybe I was down by 1 with a minute left. Next thing I know, end of the period, I look up, I won 5 because I just kept going after him.
Head down, motor.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Shaw, do you do that in your practices? Like say it's going to be a minute left and then triple the time?
No, but now I kind of want to.
I used to when I was younger because I was a lot meaner. I was so much meaner when I was younger. Like my son was like, "What happened to you? You got soft." But you're right. I think I should start doing that more often.
And we would. Have you ever we'd go overseas, for international career, and we'll the international guys use saunas. And so we'll be in there and we'll do a Russian sauna where they're going through the motion. He's like, you got to sit here for 15 minutes and you just put your head down. You're just thinking about everything. And then you think that the time's up because you don't know, but it really has been 20 minutes. And it's like, wow, you're really putting that work in. And it's just awesome when you get done with it. It's like, be proud of yourself.
Buddy, listen, I've been in saunas all over the world. Listen, I've been in saunas all over this globe. Hawkeye Wrestling Club sauna is top 3 hottest I've ever been in, and it ain't.
It's a hot one.
It's a warm one. It's a warm one, and it's got a metal plate that's about 4 foot by 4 foot above the burners, and that some bitch gets hot. You throw a little bit of water on that, and you sizzle it. Good Lord.
Oh yeah.
Talk to me about some sauna talk, man. There's got to be some good stories in the sauna at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. Yeah,
there's good ones, I guess. There's been times where I break in the sauna all the time, just because it's I get overheated so fast. I'm a hairy individual. I have a sweater on when I'm just having my shirtless. So I'm just overheating. And he's like, you put your head back, your buddy right next to you is your guy, And I have Sorensen right next to me, and he's just, keeping me good because it makes a bond really great with guys because you're there for one another when it's hurting.
Yeah.
So it gets hot in there. I broke a couple of times.
Oh yeah, dude. Everybody's on it, dude. I have a funny Hawkeye Wrestling Club sauna story. Do you know Nikki Rod, the big gorilla?
Mm-hmm.
So
Probably here for who's number one.
yes. So he was in town. They were putting on him versus Pat Downey in a wrestling match. And Nicky Rod, for those of you that don't know, is 6'3", 230, 240. He's a big old boy, and he doesn't have a whole lot of fat on him. And so I got done with a workout. I go sit in the sauna. I get in a cold plunge. I sit in the sauna. I think I did 20 minutes, 2 minutes, then 15 minutes in the sauna. And I get out, and Nicky Rod is riding an Airdyne, and he's pouting like somebody stole his lunch money. I'm like, Nicky, what's wrong with you? He's like, nobody wants to drill with me, man. Like, dang it. Okay, cool. I'll go with you. So I strap back up. I couldn't open my fingers. In like 3 minutes into the go, I'm like, Nicky, this is not going well for me. Can you just not thump my head for a second? Like, I can't open my hands. I had like claws. I had lobster claws for about 20 minutes. And that's about all I gave him, was about 20 minutes. And I was hurting.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big old boy. Okay, I'm going to digress. I want to go to flow state. So what I love about the way that you wrestle is there's a genuine joy that comes across when you're wrestling. Like, you truly like being out there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about getting to your flow state? How do you go about blocking everything out and getting to your flow state?
For me, it's, different. It's hard to explain. Like, there's like a switch in my mind that I can, when it's time to go, like, I'm ready to go. Like, I can joke around all that before the match. I'm not like really serious. Like, I like to talk to people. I like to, not put so much focus onto it. But when it's go time, like, I just flip that switch, and I just love to be out there. And when I'm wrestling, it's never like I'm focused on this to do this. It's okay, I'm wrestling, like, whatever he gives me, I'm going to take. And it's kind of like, playing chess for me. Like, I'm taking the moves that are handed in front of me that I see, and then I'm building off of that. So it's never like I have to do this, to do this, to do this, because if that doesn't work, then I'm like, what next? It's more, okay, he steps his leg forward, I'm going to slap it. He's going to pull it back. Maybe I'm going to go left side, ankle pick. Or I'm going to go to my drag. He steps out of it. I'm going to my high crotch. It's kind of like poetry in motion, kind of, for me. It's just letting everything unfold in front of me and taking what's advantage. That's kind of what goes through.
I want to take some of these quicker questions.
Say that again. You talked about.
Do you have anything for Jaydin? Because I want to start getting to some of these quicker questions here soon. All right.
Yeah, I have one quick question. What would you say is the biggest misconception about the University of Iowa?
Ooh. The biggest misconception is, I would say, the overworking. Like, we overwork our guys, or they always get injured. Those is always hear things that, come from the outside world. And to me, wrestling is, you're going to get hurt in this sport. And, I was hurt when I was at the University of Missouri. It's something that's like not, uncommon. And the overworking part is, we actually, like, it's pretty laid back compared to what I was like expecting. Like, when it's time for the season, we were going, hard Monday, Tuesday, like I was saying, off Wednesday. Like, I really, when I was never got an off day. But when I came to Iowa, they're like, no, like, we want you to rest your body. You're off on the weekends. It was really like not what I was expecting. And because of the, what the outside world was saying about them, I was going in thinking like it's going to be hard every single day. And that's just not true. It's, some days it might be, hey, you're on your own, get what you need on the mat. and, we'd wrestle, and, maybe I'm not going to go live today, and that would be okay. It's just what my body needed. So it's really, they put the belief in you, and they want you to make sure you are good to go.
I got one more thing before we start getting to those quick questions. You were at the University of Iowa before there was a women's team, and now you're there while there's a women's team.
Mm-hmm.
How's that? I don't know what it looks like because I just never been.
Mm-hmm.
I never been.
We have practice in the morning,
mm-hmm.
And then at 9:30, we have to be out of the room because the women come in from like 9:30 to I think 12 is when they have the next block of the their section, and then they leave at 12, and then we go again at 3, and then we're done by whatever time we get out of practice at 3. After 3, and then they have it, if they want to go in at night. So it's kind of we're making it work, and then with our new facility coming up, it'll be a lot better. But there's been really no issues. It's been flowing pretty good. Both of us are ranked top five in the country right now, I think. So it's really, really going well for us.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, man. It's an interesting thing. Basketball does it, right? They share a big court, right? So it's like, why would it be any different? It's not, I guess. But I just, it's interesting. Wrestling becomes so personal, and it becomes like, this is my house. The wrestling is home. It's an interesting dynamic, man. And I just want to see how it plays out over the years. All right, let's get to some quick questions. If you were building a wrestler from scratch, would they be short, stocky, powerful, or long, lanky, and flexible?
I would go with long, lanky, flexible. Like a perfect example would be like a Busaviar Satiev, Adam Satiev. Like those guys were very, very long and lanky, but they're still fundamentally strong.
Yeah, they were. Satiev brothers are pretty crazy in every single. Okay. Favorite wrestling shoe of all time?
Probably, I love the Freaks. I love the Freaks. They just feel great on me. I just actually got a new pair that were never
black ones or white ones.
The black ones.
Yeah.
I do like the white ones, but the black ones are so nice.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I did love the Rulons growing up, and then they stopped making those, but I love the Freaks. They feel perfect on my feet.
Now I shouldn't hate because I don't think I've ever had a pair of Freaks. I always looked at the bottom of them and go, oh, I'm just going to slip everywhere on them.
I never really slipped on them. Those are like the one shoes I don't slip.
That's interesting. Okay. If you could change, like you had a magic wand, you could change one thing about the sport of wrestling, what would it be?
Probably, I don't know, the length of the season maybe is a little long.
Okay.
Or, not getting people to cut so much weight, because I feel like weight cutting takes away from you wanting to grow and learn from wrestling and, be that ability. And I'm not going to get rid of cutting weight. Like, there obviously need to be weight classes and all that, but there don't need to be kids cutting 15 to 20 pounds a week, every week, because then that becomes your focus rather than wanting to get better at practice.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there a specific, because I think there are ways that we can go about this sport to stop weight cutting in youth sports. Like Matt Side weigh-ins would do it. Like it would do it.
It would, because, you're going to be good you have to compete right after. Yeah. But I feel like, getting on a good diet, like in college, like I cut weight completely different than I did in high school than I did in college. Like it became so much easier for me in college because I was on a good diet. I would keep my weight within like 7 to 8 pounds. Like, I don't think in the season I never got above 10 pounds above my weight. And I would work out, and then I'm leaving practice like, for whatever it is. Like right now, even for me and being a senior level, like I walk in every single day around anywhere from 48 to 50 is when I'm going into practice. And then I'm leaving at, 45, 46. And then I go put that good nutrition.
Theoretical, right? Like, I mean, you're talking about implanting the brain of a 20-something-year-old man into a child. Or even worse, a know-nothing dad that is cutting away.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff. Like when I was growing up, I never cut weight. Like I was just a small kid. Like I was 12 and under 67 pounds. My last year in, youth wrestling, I was 105 pounds. Like I just wasn't a big kid, but I never cut that weight. The most weight I ever cut was like maybe 5 pounds. So it was able to just grow in wrestling. That's why I feel like I never got burnt out or had a hatred for the sport.
Yeah. No, like that's a big part of it, man. If people that tell you that weight cutting doesn't have any long lasting effect
yeah, it does for sure.
They're crazy. I mean, like it's nonsense. All right. Last one, and then we'll cut you out of here. Who is on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Mount Rushmore wrestling. Oh, that is hard. I would say, yeah, Satiev.
Gotta be Americans.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I want Bubasar on there.
What are you talking about?
If we're talking about American, I would have to go. You have JB.
Okay.
You have Cale Sanderson, going undefeated in college. For me, I'm gonna put the Brands brothers at just together because they were just dominant in college. Like there was just something about you would never want to wrestle them ever.
I would tend to agree with that. They changed made the bar a lot higher.
They put the fear of God in you.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And don't take them down. Don't take them down. Don't do that. Don't do that because you're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get hurt. There was guys that I've seen footage of guys getting 9/10 of a takedown on Terry and going, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just back off.
So I have those three.
Well, that's 4. That's 4.
Okay, 4.
Commentary is 4.
For me, honestly, my 5th one is gonna be, it's gonna be my dad because he was the greatest. When he competed, he just had something like a mental block. But when he was in the practice room, I watched him just beat the living hell out of everyone. And it didn't matter if you were when Jaden Cox was training for the 2016 Olympics, Mike was working out with him. It was awesome watching those two together. I'm like, Mike is 48, 45 years old right now wrestling, and he's still looking amazing. I never even came close to beating him until I was, until he got older, and the conditioning played a factor into it. But we would wrestle, and I'd be like, I just can't do anything about this. I've never felt somebody so good in my life, and and that happens where a wrestler has a block, and when they go to compete. But in practice room, he was just untouchable.
Lights out.
I watched him when he coached at Mizzou. He would start at the beginning of the lineup and go all the way to heavyweight, and he would just tear them all up. And I'm like, what the hell?
Lord, really?
Yeah, it was just awesome to watch. And, that's why I was so grateful to have him as a coach and, as a dad.
That's awesome.
It was awesome to watch.
So much respect for Mike Eierman. Just so much. And it keeps on, the respect keeps on getting bigger. It's amazing what that guy's done. He's one of the kind of low-key shifts in this sport. You know, when he started having the club and started training people, it made everyone else around the country raise their game just a little bit. It's like, dude, there's cats out there like Mike Eierman that are producing guys that don't have a style of wrestling. Like, you know, there was the Blair style of wrestling, and then there was the Sem style of wrestling, and then there was the West Coast style wrestling, Midwest. But Mike Eierman's guys, they were squirrely from every position. They were really, really well conditioned. Yeah, he raised the bar out there, man, for sure. All right, Jaydin Eierman, thank you so much.
No problem.
How do people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you, brother?
You can, message me on my Instagram or Twitter. My email is theriddler65kg@gmail.com. I'm always open to chat, or if anything, anybody needs anything, I'm always open to give back to the community because I want to help grow the sport.
You're the best, brother, man. Thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Hey, bud.